It is good to have you back. If you are just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we're just about to get started. I have with me here in the studio Dr. Dukwante, political analyst. Many thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And we will be joined from Warri State by Kehinde Tiger. He is the national president of CDHR. But before he joins us, we'll be moving ahead with our discussions. Nigeria had 63. I feel like, well, the independence, our independence now at 63. How do you feel about that?
I'm quite ambivalent about it. Some will say there are reasons to rejoice, to dance and make noise. Some will say there's a reason to be subdued. I think I'm in between in the sense that one can only thank God for being, that is, we're still together as a nation. Aside from the survivor bit, there isn't much to sing about. I think for the level of the things that we have read and we know about how Nigeria should have progressed, I think it's still strange that we're where we are at, and like crawling like a little child. I think we just need to do much more, and I don't see any reason for any noise or any celebration as such. That's my own assessment of it.
So that means you agree with the presidency that the 63rd anniversary of Nigeria's independence should be celebrated low-key?
I agree in totality, but if it wasn't going to be celebrated in low-key, the celebration today that I saw in Abuja is not low-key. I mean, why should we have all those kind of gathering and all those kind of putting together? I think we can do things more subduedly, in a different manner. We can mark it. We're here with a speech, and then that will just be it, and then maybe a bit of just official ceremony, and not all the crowd and all this that are bringing people from all over to come and dance about your political. I don't think we're really serious as a people in terms of assessing and appreciating the dilemma in which we face. It could be much more than that. I mean, Lagos State said it would celebrate, Osun State did not, and the heavens did not fall. So why should we at all? Yes, we can mark it by the president speaking or something nominal, but not celebration, not all these things. I don't see anything low-key about that. I mean, if what they thought would have been that to blow the noise and dance and whatever, I don't think so. Nothing much was different in terms of how it was celebrated today at Abuja.
So, if we try to look at public opinion of Nigeria at 63, I would say the older ones, they feel like we should be grateful to the Almighty that at least we still have a country called Nigeria, albeit insecurity, inflation, the country is still standing. But for the younger populace, they seem to be very disappointed with how Nigeria is currently, especially when compared to some other countries, the rate at which they develop in a very short amount of time. And we have 63 years already. Granted, most of the countries that Nigeria look up to, those countries are centuries old. Nigeria, in comparison to them, since we gained independence, we are just like a very little brother, like the last born of the family, so to speak. So, what do you think we are not doing right, that we are still in this position we are at the moment?
You see, there are certain ways in which we delude ourselves in accepting the state where we are at. To say, oh, we thank God for survival, yes, and oh, it took a long time for some people to become what they've become. Maybe other countries have spent about 100 years, that's fine. But we have to learn from people. We don't have to do the same thing that they did to become. Are we going to wait for 200 years to become like America? Of course we can. Nobody can. I don't blame the young people. They see opportunities waste. They see, look, what can I get out of here? What is going to be my lot? What do I face? Well, look at the daunting challenges they face. And so they ask themselves, what is the nation? You know, I think that's the reason why in going forward, nations today choose leaders that will mend, that will blend with the future they're looking up to. You don't get octogenarians to come and be fashioning and for somebody in his 40s. You just cannot be in the same lockstep work with them. So, you know, for me, I think as a country, we really do not appreciate how nationhood should be. or how do we want to rate our development? In what regard do we want to assess ourselves as a nation? I think we're just the people that live day by day and waiting for something magical to happen, as if other nations gain whatever they got by magical means or by some omnipotent presence. And we like to pray a lot and say we are praying. If we continue to pray, we will still be in the same place. If Israel was praying, or South Africa was praying to end apartheid, they will still be on the apartheid system. It's one thing to pray, but you can't sit down and pray and say you don't want to do anything. Prayers it's just like hope. Hope is not the strategy. The thing is, you can have hope, you can pray, but you need to do something. We're not doing anything as a country. I mean, if you look at, let me take for instance the element of elections. Why should it be that we wait to have our leadership people in position until after the judiciary pronounces them? If that is so, why then do we waste money on the electoral process? Should we not say, look, I listened this morning to some, and I've been talking about this Justice Ways. There was a panel that was set up by Yaradua that he himself said the election was false, and did. Nothing has been done till date. And that's why we spent over 300 billion to have an election. The last time, we're still waiting for the courts to tell us the people that won. Why then do we waste so much time and money? There are too many things that we can do if we're serious people. You know, I said to some of my colleagues today when we were discussing, until we have people among the leadership that can commit class suicide. We're talking about Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. He didn't drop from heaven. He was a Singaporean. But he said this can no more continue, and he changed the system by denying it. That's the way things can get done. Muhammad Murtala did the same thing. People were saying, oh, he left all these things behind and said, this is the way to go forward. And that's the way we only can move in this country. If we want to move by all this dancing around and joking around, we're wasting our time. That's my own assessment. I've seen it over time. I've warned people over time. I've warned the kind of leaders we produce over time. Nigeria is probably the only country that wants to be serious that does not have a leadership pool. Anybody can be a leader in Nigeria. You can be a president in Nigeria. Anybody. It depends. And how do you say Nigerian president, you have just school side or something close to school side, and then you are comfortable with that in the constitution? And then we say we want to grow? Of course not. A man that has a school side or something that has a pedestrian view of what the nationhood is. We just need to wake up. It's just maybe something will wake us up someday, and then we will appreciate what it is to become a nation, to grow a nation. Not this way.
Okay, you mentioned earlier that we love praying. Even our lawmaker in that interview we saw earlier also recommended prayer for the country. So it makes one wonder. The past president, Muhammadu Buhari, he received some backlash, so to speak, when he deemed Nigerian youth lazy. And I don't know, from your assessment, should we say that it's not just Nigerian youth that we should say are lazy, but the entire Nigerians as a whole? Because since you said that we don't take decisive action into making things better, or we just prefer to just lay back down, like, you do the work, I will just stay back here and then I'll be praying for you. And if you fail, you would get a lot of backlash, you would get a lot of dealing with. So do you think that the problem itself is with Nigerians and not particularly the leaders?
You know, it's like this about the egg and the chicken. Which came first? So you begin to argue about it. And then there's a way in which we try to hide it under a generalization. We say the fault is in everybody. Everybody is this. That's true. I mean, we have a faulty government, a governance system. We have a followership that is full of docility. We go with anything. And why do we do that? The only thing that happens in Nigeria, when things happen, people look for ways of benefit. So that's why we don't say the things that we ought to say. We don't do the things we ought to do. You see, I know for sure, people can say, oh, the followership is bad. True, that is. The leadership is bad. True, that is. But I say to people, leaders came out of the population. They were not angels they're not aliens. So they're only a reflection of us. until we take seriously the devaluation of our values and do something about it and regrow basic things that make a people, and then we look at it, it is easy for us to blame the youth. I don't blame them. I say to the people when they blame them that they are a reflection of us. They do the things they have seen us do, they perfect what we have done. That's what is happening. If people do the things adults today do or people in government do, and you're able to do different, I ask people, when the governor goes to talk in the National Youth Camp, what do you call camp? What does he feel? The guys laugh at him because they look at him and then they know the things they've read about him. They know the things he does, and then you come and preach. That is preachment. You know, if we don't live our nation by examples and precepts, we are just deceiving ourselves. The youth that we say that Buhari said are lazy, they are in fintech. They are the ones who created all the kind of things today in the world. Wali Adeyemo, who came to talk in Nigeria, is an assistant deputy. Is deputy to the Treasury Secretary. The lady, what's her name? I forgot, in the UK. They are Nigerians scattered all over. Biden just chose 2 of them as maybe advisors or something. They are Nigerians. Why do we do very well in diaspora and then you call them lazy here? We've never given them the youth the opportunity of exercising their capabilities or abilities, and then we say they're lazy. Where have we put them? Even if we put them somewhere, do we make them do things different? Will we allow them to do things different? When the kind of people they see in the National Assembly, in the State Assembly, have people, and they say to themselves, oh my God, how can that one be an example to me? So we're the ones really destroying their capability to do something. Give them the space and let them make errors, let them make mistakes, and then we will all work together. That's how nations are built. Taiwan did not, you know what Taiwan does? After a while, they send their kids to America, they send them to UK to go and learn, then they bring them back. Today, they are the creators of chips, microchips. I can't remember who was saying something. I visited somewhere, maybe in India, I can't remember this. And some laboratories that are not as big as this studio that produce parts of the aeroplane. Here we can't produce anything. I had the minister talking on TV, said they should go and tell secondary school or students, people will be manufacturing a toothpick and sanitary pad, and she sat on TV to say that, a minister. And then, honestly, sometimes it's dispirited, the kind of things you see, and the kind of what you hear people speak in authority. They seem not to even have a clear understanding of what their roles are, or what their responsibilities are, or what they should say. And it's such a pain for people like me. And so today when you bring out the drums, and I said to myself, how can we dance in the midst of so much foolishness? You know?
Okay, but now let us talk about the issue, one of the issues that is battling Nigeria. That is brain drain. We are losing a lot of our professionals, especially the ones in that age group where they are supposed to be working at their peak. The ones who are in their youth, they are leaving our country to go and service other countries. And some have opined that perhaps if they stay back in the country and then they try to make things work, then maybe perhaps we might see improvements in Nigeria rather than them taking all of their skills and flying abroad with them.
No, you see, one thing that bothers me about the way we look at things in Nigeria is the silo mentality of our considerations of things. Oh, those are not, we do not look at the totality of our nation. If we don't do that, we will all be facing the same issues every year. Why do they leave? Out of the frustration, exasperation. Some have graduated for so long. Where are the opportunities for them to manifest their capabilities? A nation that cannot say in 24 hours you can give light, power, and then you want people, you know, these young people can do stuff. I mean, one has seen them abroad. They are not doing anything different what they would have done here, but the opportunities presented to them. If you work in a Nigerian hospital, I used to practice medicine. You work in a Nigerian hospital, there's no water, there's no gloves, there are no, I mean, just imagine all the kind of things you need. You can't do the basic of things. And I still wonder today how many of our colleagues stay there and continue to face it. That's why many doctors and nurses, people say they are heartless. They have seared their conscience because they see it every day. What we want them to do, if they want to maintain their mental state, they are just. That's what has happened. And that's what is even happening in the general population. People are facing this and just say, oh boy, do you think it's a good thing to travel abroad? Go and check those who have traveled. Some of them want to come back home because the opportunities too are not there. They would rather preserve the opportunities for their own people. If you go to the UK today as a professional, as a doctor, you probably will not work as a doctor in the immediate. Even eventually you pass the plan, and then you begin to work. You are not going to be considered on the same scale with a Briton who is a doctor. And that's why you see they are all complaining in the UK now at the remuneration. And so many foreigners are complaining. So Nigerians must know that our destiny is in our hands and is right here in Nigeria. And if we don't do something about it, no angel will, no aliens will come, no American will come. If they come, they come, do something, helicopter view, do something and go back. And that's why because they are not able to repatriate the money, that's why they won't come. So if you tell them, come, and then they see all the kind of things happening. You just mentioned at the beginning of the news, people who were choristers who were traveling, they were abducted. That's Nigeria, and those are Nigerians. And you want someone to come here and put his money here? Of course not. So if you don't wake up and then look at the totality of the things that face us, which I know we can deal with if we're serious people, if we have people who... Do you want to tell me the people in the National Assembly care about the way Nigerians feel? I don't see it. Honestly, I don't. Today we have close to 50 ministers, and you want to reduce cost of governance. The vehicles they buy, you know how much they cost? Will they prove in the midst of your own people? And then you buy, you litter the whole place with those kind of vehicles. And then when you create those ministries, you think they won't have prime secretaries? They will have special aides. A governor, somewhere, I can't remember the state now, he appointed 47 special assistants in social media. Excuse me. So how many is he going to have statewide? And then you tell me they want to reduce the cost of governance. And then you're doing all these kind of things they do. Of course, those are the things these young people say, and they get disillusioned. And they say, these people can't change. Instead of them wrecking me and my future, let me go find something else to do. That's the problem we face.
Okay, well, let us look at some countries in the world where it's by their youth, when their generative power was at its peak. That was when they did so much for the country, and then they grew it to their old age. They passed the legacy on to their children, and their children were able to groom it, and then up to now, it is still probably one of the leading companies in the whole world. Should we not perhaps encourage our youth to do something like that? You know, create something. If despite the fact that it is seeming difficult or outrightly ridiculous, but there are also some school of thoughts that say that if all you are looking out for is challenges, you will see so many of which you will not be able to take a step further. But if you start looking for opportunities, then you might be able to get water out of the mountain. What do you feel about that?
You know, this country makes me laugh sometimes. It would have been funny were it not tragic. Somebody reads mathematics. There's some story of a boy in the north who built maybe an aeroplane or something or whatever, or built a solar vehicle, an electric vehicle. The only thing you hear about him is that time he built it, and somebody will give him 10,000 and they'll make noise about it. One House of Redman will go and give him a bicycle, or and that will be. Do you know how much we give to those people who get closeted in a house because then Big Brother or whatever it is?
The reality is
150 million thereabout, or 200 million for sitting in a house doing nothing for 90 days and being totally ignorant. And then we pay them, you make, and then Look at what is beginning to happen in our country. Our children who should express themselves in better ways, express themselves in music, in fashion. I'm not saying it's not good, but do you know how many people want to sing? How many people want, and then look at, and not only that singing, they bring the culture of rascality into it. They don't wear clothes, they wear all kinds of stuff. I mean, you know, the thing that pains me, and I said to many of them, those, your being a musician, being fantastic, cannot be more than 5 to 10 years. So what happens after? You see, if we don't groom these children, even if we don't guide them, I'm not saying push them, guide them. Let them express in different ways. I give the example, Wole Soyinka is not a scientist. He read literature, but look at who he has become. The thing is, are we allowing these young people to express themselves? Even when they want to, do we not suppress them by cultural means? I'm talking, you are talking, and also we choose for them the way to express themselves, and then we closet them, and then how many parents do they have time for their kids? You say these children should do something, they should face, they're ready to face challenges, I tell you. I've met a number of them. They're willing, but present them the utensils, the ingredients. Somebody wants to discover something, wants to work on something. He can't work more than 30 minutes, they take light. Before I left home, they took, within the space of 30 minutes, they took light 4 times and brought it back within seconds. Which system works if I was doing an experiment that needed, so what will happen every time I keep changing, starting all over? You know, the things that are so basic to be done, we neglect them. Why do we have the number of ministers we have? Why do we have the number of legislators that we have? Why do we spread across the states all this kind of MDAs and all these agencies? You know how many agencies we have doing the same thing? And then, you see, because we have shown that government is a place where you can make money and where you can suddenly get rich without working. Nobody wants to do anything serious. Everyone wants to win an election. And the election here is winner takes all. And then you begin to put your cronies, you put your colleagues there, and then you want the young people to aspire to do something. No, we are not encouraging them.
No, you hinted on something when we were talking about parents to the role that they have to play, and then we went back to the primary agent of change, that is family. So now that from what you've said, you've also stumbled upon it that families themselves are not doing so much to really encourage the kids, to prepare them for the future. Rather, we see parents who erroneously at this time will still compare their children with other children and saying, oh, look at that one, he's bringing cars. Why are you not bringing cars up? Why are you not married yet? Why don't you have job? Why are you not taking care of us yet? What do we have to say now to parents themselves? Because for people in psychology and counseling, they have this saying that if you raise a child well, the child will become a blessing for the whole world, for the nation. So now we could as well assume that if every family in Nigeria has raised their children well, then perhaps we'll not have greedy politicians who their own goal is just to get as much money as possible, rob the nation dry, eat out of the national cake. Now, what advice do we give to parents at this time? Because it seems as if much work now is even with the family, because it is still these children that will grow up to be the leaders.
You see, you've touched a very sensitive area that we seem to have forgotten in this country. Everybody looks at, oh, look at the society, it's terrible. What are the components of society? The individual, the family, the church, and then the society. Check all of them. They have failed, and so the individual fails. Because it's so difficult in these days, the way the values are upside down, going down south, if you do not raise a child in the proper manner, it will be difficult for a child to face the challenges of the external to his home than what he used to be. Why do I say this? How many parents have time for their children? How many? Everybody, oh no, I want to make provision for their family. It is not only financial provisions that makes the family. It is the way we groom our children. And then we let them understand the values. Today, what can you point to as the value system of this country? You just said it. Everybody wants to be rich. So everybody is always running around to get something. And because that happens, the whole thing has collapsed. The values we used to worry about, the things we used to worry about, that make the values that make a nation, they don't exist anymore. And if we don't go back to basics, you know, all these things, you can make noise about wanting to go to the moon. Check the nations that have been to the moon. They have built a foundation that permits a movement from that foundation. Show me our own. It's a foundation of decadence, debauchery, and poor leadership, I don't want to be negative, I don't want to be cynical as well, but what I see every day makes me wonder, how do we want to be in 10 years' time? And so it's a great challenge, and that's why I said the society, the way it's built up. What are the religious organizations doing? They too have joined. So because the church or the mosque are no more checks to those politicians and whatever, they run riot, doing other things in life, because also the church wants to get a little bit of the cake, a little bit of... So the whole system has collapsed. Okay. So we have to rebuild it all over.
Okay. So, all right, now we are joined by Kende Tiger, who is joining us live from Warri. Many thanks for joining us at this time, Dr. Kende Tiger. So we're talking about lessons for the future. Nigeria at 63. How do you feel about Nigeria right now, and what lessons do you feel we can draw from our past and our present so that the future would greatly benefit us?
Anyway, when we're talking about the issues of Nigeria at 60, the children, and the old and the young, we see that those old, which is our father, the founding father, who were opportune to be sent abroad for federal government scholarship, did not come back to replicate same things to Nigerians. And that is one of the 40 foundations that we are having in Nigeria as it is today. You see the problems everywhere. You see the most prominent people that we have in this country today, they all went to school through the scholarship of the federal government. They feed them, they clothe them, they give them books and all that. Having getting all their educations to thinking that they make Nigeria great. These same people have made Nigeria to be underdeveloped. It's a great problem that is why we are still at 63, and yet we still remain underdeveloped. Nigeria have all the resources, but the problem we have here is a bad leader. If we have good leaders, I don't think we should be celebrating. A lot of people today did not even celebrate Nigeria at 63, and when you ask them, they say Nigeria is not developed. And when we're talking about those Americans that our people are traveling to, Nigeria is more blessed than those countries, because those countries, they have a good leader who manage their resources for the development of their country. But today in Nigeria, we don't have leaders that manage our resources.
Yes,
and that is one of the 40 foundations that we have in our country today. If you look at everybody, if you look at our children today, children emulate what their father did. If you look at the democracy system that we have today, those that were in power since 1999, they are still the ones that are in power today. If you see when father is leaving office, he will replace himself with his children. Some of those governors, you see, they replace the children, either the House of Assembly member or commissioner and all that. So our foundation is seriously faulty by our founding fathers. And that is what we have to retrace our foundation. Irrespective of wherever we are coming from, even in the church, you see children inheriting the church. And they said church is a house of God. When the father passed on, the first child will take over. Does God also call the first child when he called the father? Those are the set of things that we need to look at when we are talking about Nigeria at 63. The leadership has failed us. But Nigeria is our country. We can't run away from our country, and we can't leave it for anybody. We have to put our hands together to make sure Nigeria is put in the right direction.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us. So please let us go on a